Hi, I'm Chris Mason and I specialise in treating anxiety and OCD. I have walked the path of recovery myself, and in this video I want to share why anxiety is so misunderstood in our society. And towards the end of the video, I'll let you in on one of the biggest secrets to anxiety recovery that people are only now just beginning to wake up to. But first, let's start at the beginning. Anxiety is a hardwired part of the human condition. It evolved long ago in the ancient part of the brain called the limbic system. This became our decision-making system. As we evolved, we would learn what was good for us and what was dangerous. These new situations would then program the amygdala, which is the part of the brain responsible for the fight or flight response, as a way of keeping us safe and alive. This program is still running strong within us today, but the thing is, we no longer live in a world constantly full of danger. We no longer have to escape from predators to make it home safely. So, we should be calm, right? Well, it seems that the modern world has brought people to a state where they're almost always either on guard or trying to distract themselves. We now live in a society where anxiety is so common, it is nearly the norm. Anxiety is, however, completely natural and just the body doing what it's supposed to do in times of perceived danger. Here is the issue and the basis of anxiety disorders: when these feelings persist when there is no immediate danger. Because we don't like feeling these feelings, we start analysing our thoughts, trying to understand what they mean and why they kicked off these responses. This is where we begin to engage in repetitive thought loops, and we may start to believe that the thoughts we are having are true. Anxiety disorders tend to adhere to a common pattern. We go through a challenging phase of life, usually lasting around 6 to 8 months, characterised by heightened stress levels. These prolonged periods of anxiety gradually deplete our emotional, mental and physical energy. It's during these states of exhaustion that anxiety tends to emerge. The subconscious mind, sensing the need to replenish, initiates anxiety, a form of self-sabotage in the hope of prompting us to stay at home so we will just relax and recharge. It will do this in a number of ways, but a few of the most common are generalised anxiety disorder. If you feel anxious but can't put your finger on what is causing it, it will cause you to withdraw from life so you avoid potential triggers. Travel anxiety. The further you go from your home, the more anxious you become. Driving, going on trains, buses or planes can cause anxiety attacks. Social anxiety. If your mind can make you anxious around others, you will withdraw from social events and stay home. Health anxiety. The mind can trick you into thinking there's something wrong with you, so you spend all day Googling symptoms, which is another trap. And relationship and job sabotage. The subconscious mind can prompt you to do things that will put your relationship or job at risk, so you can stay at home and just focus on yourself. Once you see the patterns, it all starts to make sense. Unfortunately though, the conscious and subconscious mind don't understand each other well. Metaphorically, they operate on two different systems and struggle to communicate effectively. Consequently, we often misunderstand the signals, fixating on the content of our thoughts and bodily sensations rather than understanding the underlying context. This misinterpretation triggers a cycle of overanalysis and avoidance behaviours as we desperately attempt to shield ourselves from experiencing the discomfort of these unwanted thoughts and emotions. So, we need to adopt a fresh perspective on anxiety, one that allows us to understand these internal processes. In my experience, the mainstream medical world seems to only treat the symptoms of anxiety, usually with medication, which doesn't seem to have a very high success rate in helping people make long-lasting change. Which is one of the reasons why anxiety disorders are so prevalent and so few people make recovery via these methods. Now I'll explain the most misunderstood aspect of anxiety, OCD and depression. A common but often overlooked or disregarded cause of anxiety is how trauma is stored within the body. This can be physical or emotional. It may sound a bit woo-woo, so let me get scientific for a moment. You may remember in school, we learned that everything is made of energy. And at the smallest scales, atoms are made of energy. The energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be stored or converted. Thoughts, feelings, and emotions are forms of energy. Nowadays, some forward-thinking people refer to emotions as emotions, which stands for energy in motion. For many of us, as we're growing up, we were told by society to hold down these emotions, as families and teachers couldn't accommodate a child who was crying or screaming and letting these emotions flow out of them. The thing is, we are emotional creatures that have learned to think, but we've been trained to act like thinking creatures that try and control our emotions, and this is just the wrong way around. So as we grow up and experience traumatic events, whatever they may be, even small things like being told off, trigger our emotions, but unfortunately we were taught not to let these out, so we hold this outburst down. Since the energy was not converted out of us through the emotional outburst, the body had to store it, and it stayed within us and continued to grow as we went through events that stirred our emotions and were also not released. This stored energy that is stuck within our atoms over time builds up and creates a heaviness within the body, a lethargy, a low mood, and is always looking for a way out. Eckhart Tolle, in The Power of Now, calls this the pain body. Without this knowledge, we unknowingly hold these emotions down because as they come up, they feel uncomfortable. These feelings can show up as anxiety, anger, or sadness. They may result in physical reactions like crying, shaking, screaming, weakness, vomiting, sweating, and feeling overheated. Although these processes may be uncomfortable or frightening, they are actually wonderful things and are essential for achieving emotional freedom. Eastern traditions and medicine have long acknowledged this fact. As a result, there are much lower levels of anxiety and depression in those regions of the world. Therefore, the way to emotional freedom is to stop resisting or suppressing emotions, to allow them to flow freely and vitally to focus the attention on the energy as it escapes, rather than fueling the emotions by running more scary stories in the mind. This is a major key for your journey to emotional freedom. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe so that I can continue to make more animated content like this and reach more people.